I'm Lois Reitzes. I am honored to be with you on behalf of Atlanta Ballet. I host a radio show called City Lights. It's a daily arts and culture program on WABE, weekday mornings at 11 a.m., and it repeats at 9 p.m. We consider the program a celebration of Atlanta arts and culture. With its 87-year history, Atlanta Ballet has been giving us reasons to celebrate for generations now. I have two personal connections with Atlanta Ballet that go back many years. I've been at WABE for 41 years now, and my mentor, the first program director at this station, before it had the talk format we have now, this is when it was all music with NPR News magazines. My mentor was Jonathan Phelps, and he performed with the Atlanta Ballet in the 1950s. Well, I was barely born then, but John used to speak with such reverence about Miss Dorothy, and he told the most marvelous stories. It was clearly something that was a high point of his professional life. And one of my thrills as a much younger host at WABE was receiving a phone call from Bobby Barnett. This is when listeners could call right into the control room. The announcers picked up the phone, and there was Bobby Barnett on the other end. And he asked me about a piece of music that he noticed I would play rather often. He figured it must have been special for me that I programmed it maybe once a month. And it was something that especially stirred some creative energy with him. It was a concert waltz by Alexander Glazunov, the Russian Romantic era composer. And when I told him what it was, he called me later to say that he had choreographed a work to this Glazunov concert waltz. Now, that is a few steps removed from me, not exactly 6 degrees of separation, but it is the closest I will ever come to inspiring choreography. And all I did was have to press the CD player to do it. But soon we will hear about some new choreography from Atlanta Ballet dancers. First, a little bit of housekeeping. We just ask that you please remain off camera and muted. As you may have seen or heard me mention a moment ago, it's best to watch, tune in with the speaker view on your Zoom. And do feel free to ask questions. We'd love for you to engage with the dancers. The dancers would love to engage with you. So please ask your questions in the Zoom chat. Now, you may already know that Atlanta Ballet has postponed what was originally planned for the remainder of the 2020-2021 performance season. This is something we have seen across the United States, in fact, worldwide. Live performance is not taking place in many venues where there is any concern for safety, and certainly not among the top performing arts organizations. So all of the originally announced programming, including Giselle, the Firebird, and Stars and Stripes, will be performed, but it's being moved to dates in the spring of 2022. However, Atlanta Ballet has embraced the proverbial saying that every cloud must have a silver lining, and is offering a new series, a choreographic initiative called Silver Linings, that will feature Atlanta Ballet dancers performing new works. Silver Linings is presented in partnership with the Rialto Center for the Performing Arts and Georgia State University, the broadcast program, the broadcast component at GSU, which is GSU TV. So those events will live stream in February and in March. Looking ahead to the spring, depending on the status of COVID-19 cases, which we hope will be no worse, Atlanta Ballet hopes to safely bring people a little bit closer to experience the art of dance. The artistic and production staff of Atlanta Ballet are looking for the best outdoor venues to feature an annual family ballet presented by Atlanta Ballet 2, as well as the company programming a mix of new works and past favorites. During these challenging times, as well as we'll learn this evening, I should say, not even a pandemic can keep these dancers still. So now we're going to hear about those silver linings. 4 of the Atlanta Ballet dancers are with us now: Keaton Lear, Keith Reeves, Darian Kane, and Sergio Macero Alarte. And we are going to begin with Keaton Lear. Keaton, there you are. Okay.
Hello.
So we're excited to view this piece, a tease from the piece that you have provided us this evening. Did you want to set this scene?
Sure, yeah, I can definitely do that for you. So, well, backing up a little bit, so we were presented with the opportunity to, create on our fellow dancers in the company here, just dancer to dancer, which was a unique thing. And so when the opportunity came up, I thought, well, first of all, I'll say that I'm not a choreographer. I don't choreograph often. I did a little bit when I was in like ballet school years back, but I decided to kind of put that hat aside and just focus on my career as a dancer. And yeah, I never really saw the opportunity to get into it again. So but now here we are today with a lot of time on our hands, and the opportunity had arisen. So I thought, why not? So that's kind of the background of how I just got inspired to do any sort of choreography in this program. Then I decided that I would keep my basis of what I was going to work towards a little bit more simple, and keep my so I decided to do a solo for a woman, just for making guidelines and safety easier, just make a solo, not make anything too complicated. And then I decided for the sake of my practice a little bit more, I would create a classical ballet solo. So I could just, create everything within the classical realm, which is just a little less broad than maybe doing something contemporary with just all of the options that you can do when you enter into the contemporary world. So I decided to keep it more simple classically so I could just hone in on just other skills rather than, I mean, it still is very creative, but I could just work more so towards like working individually with a dancer, what it's like to be on, the front of the room versus on like in the space of the room, and just communicating with a dancer as like just from that different position. It's just very different. And I wanted to explore that a little bit and just experience it. And so I created my solo specifically for my fellow company dancer, Saho Kumagai. She's really great. I have really enjoyed our process together. And yeah, the music is by Claude Debussy. Yeah, it's called Petite Suite pour piano, so it's just a little suite of piano concerto. Yeah, it's really nice. I really like it. Yeah, so we got into working, Saho and I, and then I also had a few other people learning it as well. And yeah, the piece was kind of inspired. It kind of went back and forth, but then near the end, I kind of ended up landing on a concept where I really liked the idea of just, well, my movement kind of translated into this kind of like billowing, flowy, very romantic classical movement. And I have also been watching, well, I was just watching this one program where it was actually like an environmental program, and it was talking about weather patterns and all of these things. And it made me think and connect about how delicate everything is, and especially just like the weather systems and all of these things. And so I decided that I would call my piece Le Forme du Vent, which means the shape of wind in French.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that's kind of the connection there and kind of the background behind the inspiration.
Should we watch it?
Yeah, I think you can see, like you'll see in the dancers, it's a very like wispy kind of movement that they'll get into. And yeah, the girls that are both dancing will be dancing this weekend and next. And they do a great job of translating what I'm trying to show. So yeah, I hope you enjoy with a little clip. Yeah, I really want like a moment where you're like, here's my leg. Have a little bit of like,
Beautiful, just beautiful. And I love that dreamy Debussy.
yeah, very, very dreamy. Yes, definitely.
French impressionist, winds. You got it all there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's just a tiny little clip. The piece is around like 3-ish minutes, and yeah.
Okay, well, I think it is time to move to another colleague's presentation. Is Keith with us?
Keith is not. He is having internet issues.
Oh, dear Keith. Okay. Well, then we'll pivot. You all know how to pivot.
In the comments in response to Keaton's piece, we received a more. So there's already excitement about our first piece. And Ginger and Doug Pissick would like to know, how are you staying in shape during these unusual times? The lovely Miss Darian's been sitting there for a moment. Why don't we add her to the spotlight with Lois?
Oh, geez. Okay.
Hi, Darian.
Hi. Should I just go ahead and answer that question for
How you're staying in
most of us
Sure,
dancers?
sure.
Because I think my answer is pretty much the same as most of us, which is that for a period of time we were not in the studio. So we actually had like Zoom ballet classes where we all did bar, like holding on to our kitchen countertops a lot of the time. And I know a lot of us really invested in like yoga and Pilates and doing a lot of conditioning, because it's super hard to actually do everything we would do in the studio. I believe Sergio made a floor though, so that he could jump.
Wow.
So I don't know. I feel like that's a lot more interesting than me talking about Pilates, if he wants to talk a little bit about that. I don't know. I think it's super cool. He's got like a full studio.
I don't know. I think that your piece is so athletic and demanding. The Pilates is probably required. But Sergio, tell us about your floor.
So when we started like being confined at home and we had to stay at home, I decided that because my fiance and I bought a house last February, so we have a spare room downstairs which we didn't have a use for, and we said, why not make a ballet studio? And we found a couple videos in YouTube that people would make a budget-friendly sprung floor with noodles, like pool noodles, cutting them in like 3-inch pieces, then boards of wood on top, so that when you jump, it's sprung. It's not really hard. And we decided that it would be very important because, first of all, I had a very serious injury last year, so I was out the entire season. So to come back to jumping, well, pretty much everybody can say that the floors we have at home are not the best floors to jump, because we're used to jumping in sprung floors that the impact is not as high. So I decided that I had to get a little bit more into shape, that people that had been at home not jumping for maybe 3 months, they could maybe afford to stay not jumping for 3 months, but I hadn't been jumping in a year. So by the time that I would get back to the studio, I knew that I would have to be doing a little bit more already than maybe some of my colleagues. So because of that, we decided like, hey, why not? Let's do it. So we bought a few tools and we bought the wood and we got the pool noodles, and it took us about 2 days, and we have it on there.
You are resourceful, I have to say. And isn't it amazing what you can find on YouTube? I mean, for all of this dreadful isolation we're in, look at how we can connect and connect
I think that's something, one of the positive things that everybody can probably say that COVID-19 has brought to us, that we've had to become resourceful. And if we cannot be together, let's do Zoom, or let's do this, or let's learn online, let's do online classes. And I think that the humans like just love to always move forward. So there's not much that can stop us. This is definitely slowing us down for a little bit, but we're becoming more resourceful in other aspects.
Sergio, before we get back to Darren, whose piece we will view next, some of our visitors probably would be curious to know about your fiance, who has a professional connection as well.
Yes, her name is Emily Carrico, and we met when we both joined Atlanta Ballet, and we've been together pretty much ever since.
Wonderful.
Yeah, she's around here somewhere. I don't know. She probably she's shy sometimes.
Okay. We will, I'm curious though, your injury, have you fully recovered?
Yes, I would say that, it's a very serious injury. I ruptured my ACL.
Ooh,
So
ow.
surgery, and then I did a lot of like physical therapy and recovery for it, but it's not strength wise. I've gotten all of it back, but then there's a lot of dynamics you need for dancing that I'd say that maybe I've gotten back to like 80% or so. And I think that from there on, to get everything else back, it's just gonna be through dancing. And obviously, because we've been out for so long, we couldn't jump right away into like all kind of crazy jumps or anything. So it's just probably gonna take time to get back to the level I was before. But I feel very good about it. I'm like able to finish every class. I will be in this Silver Linings program the company put together. They put the choreographies, the new choreographies, and also the other dancers that maybe haven't choreographed. They are, or if they are not dancing in a piece that has been choreographed, they will be performing a solo, a classical variation, and I will be doing one as well. So I do feel pretty confident to say that I'm nearly fully recovered.
Wonderful.
So, yes.
Good. Well, we are going to view Darian's piece next. And Darian, this really is amazing. Set the stage, if you will.
Thank you. Yeah, so I actually had a similar experience as Keaton, where I did not think that I wanted to choreograph, and originally I kind of thought that it would be cool to like collaborate with someone, but Keaton and I couldn't work together because I really wanted to work with Keaton, and we weren't in the same pod. And he kind of encouraged me to decide to do it. So I started doing a lot of unnecessary research. I love like studying, and I found that I just like was having a lot of trouble starting. And I'm also a visual artist, so I draw. And so I was like, why shouldn't I choreograph the same way I try and draw, which is really inspired by music and by Danny Elfman and Tim Burton and film directors like Wes Anderson and Quentin Tarantino. And I think the things that they all have in common that I loved is this total immersion into a world that is completely unlike our own. And so I found this piece of music that was a pet project from this musician who he collaborated with a ton of other musicians. Some of the songs aren't even in English. Some of the songs are backwards. And there was this one track at the beginning of the album that was really beautiful and whimsical, and it captured that essence. So I wanted to take a dancer and allow them to be the character that is essentially the genius that I think exists in the mind of Danny Elfman when he creates. So I told my dancers that I've worked with to imagine like they're in the process of crafting a world. And one of my favorite things that I really visually impacted the way they moved is I told them to dance as if they had paint on the bottom of their feet, and that while they're dancing, they're kind of like creating the roads of this world. So the video you will see is Sujin Han, and I like to call her Sneaky Sue in this piece because she's got a lot of lightness and agility, and she has been an absolute dream to work with. So that is all I will say, and I will let her shine because she's quite magical. Just give everybody a little wave. Yeah, maybe it'll be good. Second one, third one.
absolutely marvelous.
Thank you. I forgot to mention the name of the piece is called Dr. Rainbow's Infinity Mirror. So
Hence the rainbow socks.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm intrigued that you mentioned Danny Elfman and Wes Anderson. I thought the music had the suggestion of a Charlie Chaplin film. And when you just talked about Danny Elfman and Wes Anderson, I thought this could have been something out of Budapest Hotel.
Yeah, yeah, I love that film. With my art and when I draw and when I enter into the studio, I always experience like a really extreme sense of escapism from the rest of the world. And I think that's why art is so important to me. And so in creating it, I wanted to try and give the audience as much of what I feel when I am dancing as well, which is just kind of like being taken to another place, I guess.
Well, you do it. You accomplish that, and it is simply marvelous.
Thank you.
According to my schedule, Sergio is to go last, but we can only do that if Keith is with us. Is he? I do not.
Unfortunately, not yet.
Ooh, okay. Well,
So would you like to pivot to Sergio?
I will pivot to Sergio, although I hope he won't judge my pivot because I am unfortunately not a dancer. Sergio, this piece, it sounds like Spanish music, am I correct?
No.
No, so tell us more.
It's called, the music, it's called Bal Sentimental, and it's by Tchaikovsky.
Well, well, so much for my music history degrees.
But I do like that the music has a lot of character. So maybe that's what made you think of that.
Well, you know, Tchaikovsky loved Southern Europe. He spent time in Italy, so he could invoke Spain and a Mediterranean feel. Tell us more about what you had in mind in creating this work.
Yes. So when Gennady offered the idea to dancers to choreograph, I definitely knew I wanted to jump on because I have done a little bit before, not so much, but I've always enjoyed choreographing. So anytime I've had the opportunity, I've jumped on board with that. So I knew I wanted to choreograph, and then when I do choreograph something, I like to always keep the music the priority when it comes to moment and everything. And the idea that I had for the piece, it was that I knew that during the quarantine and during this pandemic, it had been really hard for dancers staying at home and everything. But I was very inspired by seeing dancers all over the world, keeping up with their dance training, taking classes online, sharing videos of what they're doing at home and everything. So to me, it started the idea of how amid everything that was happening in the world, ballet and classical ballet especially was remaining intact. Everybody was keeping up with their work, with their technique, with their form as best as possible, obviously at home. And then when we returned to dance, the ones that we were lucky enough to be able to get back into the studios, the way to jump back in, you couldn't just jump back in doing any kind of work that we were previously working on or anything, because we hadn't been doing that much at home. So we had to go back to the base. And to me, any choreography, either classical or contemporary or neoclassical, everything has to have a very strong base, which is classical ballet technique. So when I decided to make a piece, I knew that I was gonna make something classical because of that. And I actually named my piece Teneo Integrum, which are both Latin words that they have a lot of different meanings, but within those meanings, two meanings that I really picked is remaining and intact. So within that, I let the music just guide me for everything else. I believe that classical technique has a lot of holding and a lot of making positions and stuff. And the way I enjoy dancing classical ballet is trying to find as much movement within the restrictions that classical ballet gives you. So that's pretty much what I did. I just tried to make one step at a time, all of it to match exactly how I thought it matched best the music.
Shall we view it? Are you ready?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So we're gonna go picche árabe, balance, tombe coupé, taking them behind, stay in front. There you go. Very nice. That's it. Stretch. Back, go.
Wonderful. And I hear the Tchaikovsky now. I don't know where my head was. But I have to say, Sergio, it's clear that leaps and going back to jumping was on your mind with this work. Were you transferring your hopes for your own return to leaps in this?
I think that one thing that I enjoyed it throughout this process is that I think that because my fiance is in the company and all of my friends are in the company, last year, even though I was not dancing, I stick around a lot. I even was able to go to Washington, D.C. when the company performed Nutcracker at the Kennedy Center.
Yes.
So I watch a lot, which it actually helped me so much to learn because a lot of times as dancer, like they tell a choreographer or somebody tells you to do something and you right away say like, okay, wait, like let me put it in my body. But not being able to put it in your body, it puts everything a different perspective that you have to learn things different. And I was also teaching in the school at the same time and I could not demonstrate as many things. So I had a lot of stuff in my mind that I wanted to give in a sense. So this opportunity has been really, really good for me to kind of give all of that out. And with the jams and stuff, that's I think a little bit the kind of dancer that I am. I enjoy so much more like jumping than anything else. So I gave a lot of that to my whole cast.
Yes.
Today we actually did a run and of the whole piece, which is about 4.5 minutes. And at the very end, they were exhausted.
I'll bet.
And I was talking to my fiance in the car. I said, I guess I haven't done it. I didn't realize how tiring it is, but probably yes. When I have to come up with a step, jumping, it's probably high in the list.
Oh, how fun. I have to ask for some direction. Is Keith here yet?
Keith is still not here, but we
Okay.
think that everyone would enjoy watching his clip even if we don't get his feedback. And so let's enjoy Keith's clip together.
Great idea.
you actually feel right now. Yeah. Now go for it. Slide. Take your time. Beautiful. Take your time.
I feel like there's a narrative there, a strong one. I look forward to hearing from Keith when he will be available. It's wonderful to watch and so demanding of the dancer. I think that's where some of the Pilates would also come in helpful, Darian. I was hoping we could all chat a bit. It's such a joy and a privilege to talk with you, to hear about your creative process. And as you were speaking about listening to music and feeling it in your body, Sergio, and leaps and jumps come to you, it made me think about something Hope Boykin, who has recently retired from the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. I spoke with her after she had choreographed a piece that was based on Dr. Martin Luther King speeches. And she was on a day off when the company was here performing in Atlanta. She went to the Center for Civil and Human Rights. And she was just in that room where you can put on headphones and hear the speeches. And she said to me, she knew she wanted to choreograph a piece from that because she heard movement. And I thought, that's an interesting sort of cross-sensory or mixed metaphor phrase. You know, I could, maybe it's because my background was as a musician. I would think Dr. King's powerful oratory would inspire melody. But to hear movement was just fascinating to me. And if you could expand upon how you enter into your creative process, even if it's not through choreography. Darren, you spoke about the visual process that informs your dance. If you would please talk amongst yourselves.
I don't know. Who wants to go first?
Go, ladies.
And you go.
Yeah, Darian, you can totally go for it.
Okay. What I will say about hearing movement, I feel like at least Keen and I just immediately started nodding our head. I think that as a dancer, because we rarely dance in silence, dancing and music almost become the same thing. So hearing music is almost the same thing as like hearing a dance happening, to me at least. And I think that that's kind of, I don't know if that kind of touches on what she was feeling, but I understand what she said. And I think for me, when I create, I feel like lighting is really important. So I often draw in red light, and that for some reason really helps me. And I also think having like headphones in so that you completely block out other noise was really beneficial for me. And I choreographed in my apartment with no mirror, which was great. So it was all about how things felt versus looked, which I think was really freeing as a dancer, especially since I was taking myself away from a classical place.
Oh, wow. I saw that Keith has just entered the waiting room. Shall we
Yes,
admit
Keith
it?
has joined us.
Okay. Where is he? Keith, we look forward to hearing from you.
It appears that there are some Zoom issues throughout the Zoom world tonight. They did have some connectivity issues, and so anyone who had trouble joining us tonight, we will be sending out more information about what you missed before you got here. And hopefully Keith will get his video on momentarily because everybody loved the glimpse of his piece.
There you are. Keith, welcome. And unmute.
Hi, how are you?
Well,
Sorry, I had to drive all the way to my boyfriend's house because my connection at my house has been really awful. We just moved into a new place, so and it's pretty like new, so like a lot of our electrical and things like that are still being like put together because our landlord just kind of built it a few months ago.
Well,
so
we're glad you're here.
Thank you for bearing with me.
We had the pleasure of watching that piece. It is so dramatic. Tell us more.
So I ended up using poles because I wanted to create a pas de deux, which is a partner dance, two people dancing together. And since we aren't able to touch right now because of the current situation we're in, I thought it would be really cool to use poles to pas de deux and like maneuver movement with each other as a pair. And I also I went to go see, I don't know if you're familiar with like Core Dance.
Yes.
It's a company here in Atlanta, and Rose Shields is a local choreographer here, and she did this amazing piece that included PVC pipes and like structured squares made out of PVC pipes that can break down, and she also included a pas de deux with PVC pipes. So that's originally where I like get that idea from, and I was like, wow, like what if like I talked to her about it, and also my boyfriend was in that pas de deux as well. So like after talking to them about it and like getting their insight on it, I was like, I would love to bring this to ballet, and I did, and like we're playing with it, and it's been a really cool process.
I thought there was a narrative. I'm so intrigued to hear that the dancer isn't being released from constraints, which is how I interpreted throwing away the poles.
Yes, and that is part of Emma's solo, and yes, you are very right. That does include going out of the box and like freeing yourself of all restrictions that people put on you and like you put on yourself sometimes.
And tell us about the music.
So my music was composed by Peter Flemings. He's a local DJ here in Atlanta, and he also composes music for a few companies here in Atlanta and just a lot of local freelance choreographers. And I met him through my boyfriend, who is a company member, Walter Apps. He's a company member at Core Dance, but I met Peter through him, and me and Peter just recently collaborated on a project that I did called Bodies in Motion. And it was an outdoor event where I curated local artists, dance artists in Atlanta, and it was more of an improv idea. So this whole track was an improv track that we created during the show. So everything that you're hearing was created in the moment just about. And at the beginning of the song, at the beginning of the full track, I don't know if you guys will be able to see it during our working process tomorrow night or Saturday night. But with that, like I got old audio of my grandmother talking to me about my family history and things like that. So we took different elements like that and industrial sounds, because I love like city and like construction noise, and he has a few instruments that he plays, which has made the process a lot easier. So I'm just like, can you get me a ting or a ding there? And he's like, I got it. And he's been really great to work with, because whenever I've asked him for little changes, it's like done really quickly. And so, yeah.
I mean, it's really amazing. Did each of you consult with each other? Did any of you consult with each other about what music you were using?
As far as the choreographers at Atlanta Ballet, or as far as the composer and I?
No, the silver linings among
the silver
four of
yes,
you.
we did. A lot of us, I mean, a few of us talked to each other as choreographers about some of the music that we were using, but a lot of it has just been like us walking through the studios and hearing music that other choreographers are playing. And it's like beautiful to see all of my coworkers working on their choreographic voice. And it's just beautiful to see what they're interpreting. I love this process right now.
Because, you know, Keaton has this dreamy French impressionism playing, and Sergio went straight to the master with Tchaikovsky ballet, and Darian brings in Danny Elfman, and now you have originally composed music fresh off the page, or I guess it's not on a page anymore, fresh off the screen for your work. It's such a rich variety. I want to tell or remind those of you visiting that there will be rehearsal live streams, open rehearsal live streams of Silver Linings this coming Saturday, November 14th in the afternoon, Saturday at 2 p.m. And then again, the following Saturday, November 21st at 2 p.m. So that can whet your appetite all the more for the big events in February and March. Oh goodness, time is running out. I guess we should answer some of our guests' questions now. Do we look at the chat?
So we have a question asking if Darian is a fan or student of the Gaga technique.
I actually ended up privately responding to that, but I will answer for everyone. I have not studied it too much, but I did -16 actually at the same time Atlanta Ballet did it with an old company that I worked for. And so I assume that when I tried to capture the feeling of the movement without visually looking at myself, it probably subconsciously came back from when I was taking Gaga classes and doing -16, which was an immensely enjoyable experience for me. I do love that ballet with all of my heart. It's amazing to do.
Okay, I have to read, unless Julia, you want to ask more of the questions.
We have another question. This one's for Keith. Keith, I've seen stepping dance competition some time ago and appreciated the way they used canes and poles. We loved the little bit we saw of your piece. By any chance, did stepping dance play a role in your idea to use the poles?
That is so funny, because going back in like my childhood, going to Greek Week at Savannah State and Morehouse and things like that, yes, I do recall like being around a lot of like steppers and dancers from fraternities that would use like canes and everything. And yes, in some way I did find myself thinking about that and implementing those ideas in my choreography. Yes, I do see that. But I feel like everything almost, as a choreographer, it's almost like a melting pot as you get older. Like everything, you reference just about everything for me at least, you reference everything from your childhood and just different experiences you go through. So yes, that is definitely a reference that I used in my piece. Thank you for bringing that up.
Another question was about working without a mirror, Darian.
Oh, is there another one?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was it. That's why I'm going to let Julia do this, because I just had cataract surgery and I can't read this very well.
It's all good.
Darren, if you would tell us a little bit more about working without a mirror, that was an interesting topic.
Oh, yeah, I was never planning to perform the piece. It had to be on someone else, you know, I'm choreographing on someone else. So I think that I didn't want to get attached to the way things looked on my body, because there's inevitably going to be a lot of adjustment to make whoever is learning it look good. So in the process, I had 3 people learning it, and then I had 2 random people learn it a different week. And it was like, even partway through, I kind of found myself saying, like, you don't do this as big, but you keep it the way you do it. So I think for me, because it wasn't a ballet position, so there's not a right or wrong way to do it. It's more like what is natural for the dancer. So I think not having like such a clear image of myself doing it made it easier for me to at least be somewhat, hopefully, flexible with the people learning it.
Okay. Coming full circle, silver linings and the idea of a silver lining in this pandemic. It's hard to think about anything good that has come of this, but would you talk a bit about what this has meant? Are you looking at your place in this, at this point in 2020, differently because you've had the opportunity to create these works? This is for each of you. Darian, you're on the big screen.
Oh, okay. I just feel like I'm taking up a lot of space right now. So I think so. I think we're in the studio and we're working Tuesday through Saturday, and Gennady has fought really hard to make us able to dance as much as possible. That's very different than other companies across the board. So I think for me, going from quarantine to still working when so many of my friends across the US are not, quarantine has made me have such an extreme amount of gratitude for what I do every single day. And then to be able to be working and then also playing and choreographing right now, and being able to like either pick dancers you love watching or be picked by choreographers is hugely flattering as well. I remember I'm learning another choreographer's piece, and they see us in the studio every single day. They know us at our worst and still want to work with us. So I found that to make me feel like really valued in a way that I'm not sure I could have as a dancer before this project. So I think gratitude, honestly, is the main one.
Wonderful. Keaton?
Yes, definitely. If we were in the same similar state as it would have been, you know, even 4 months ago, before any of these ideas had risen within the company or the opportunities we've gotten had risen within the company, I think I would be at a very, very different mindset. But I think what Darian was saying, with like reflecting on that, with specifically with this Silver Linings program, with the opportunity to kind of play creatively, that definitely has changed like my mindset and kind of, you know, adds to the development as myself, and I'm sure all the other choreographers as an artist. So I feel like I've learned a lot about myself throughout this process too. So yeah, just invaluable experience that I don't think I would have gotten without, you know, this opportunity.
This is a silver lining. And
Yeah.
Sergio, who would have thought you would have built your own floor?
course, yes, yes. That's why I, I mean, I always consider myself a very positive person, but I just think that the pandemic has brought, in particular to Atlanta Ballet, so many positive things. Starting by the communication, just with Gennady, with the staff, like I think we've talked amongst ourselves as a company more than in the past 3 years. Like we get together in Zoom, we talk, we discuss things. Everybody's open. The staff, the artistic directorship is open to listen ideas from the dancers, and I just think that's so valuable. Other thing like this choreographic project. I mean, it just showcased like all the different ideas and types of choreography that within the same company has been created. That goes to show how versatile the company is, and it's even developing farther. So I really think that those are very positive things for the entire company. And I just feel like as far as we are with all the social distancing, that the company is getting closer and closer and closer, because we understand how the arts are suffering during this pandemic, and we understand that united we're stronger. So we are trying to make the most out of this. And another thing that I personally felt, and I'm sure the other choreographers the same, is that I feel that by doing this, I'm doing a little bit my part and helping the organization to move on, because right now we're not able to bring choreographers. Choreographers are not able to fly into Atlanta, work with a large group of people. So by doing this, we're allowing the company to present somebody to everybody that follow us, present something to everybody that follow us. So that I think that was very important. And when the idea of Silver Linings came up, I was 100% happy to jump in and help Atlanta Ballet as a whole organization to move forward, because right now that's all we have, like being together and being stronger.
Well, something that has emerged from just this brief encounter with you all that has been so marvelous is how close all of you are, and your commitment to your art that we could glean from seeing you on stage and professionally. But to hear what close friends you are, and in the case of Keith and Sergio, right in your home, in your own homes, you're very close with other company members. It's really been a joy to see that camaraderie. And you make me think about Gene Kelly, when he sang, "Gotta Dance." I mean, it's you, it's your spirit, it's your essence. I thank you all so very much, and thanks to everyone who has joined. Again, a reminder, you can attend the dress rehearsals at 2 p.m. for the next 2 Saturdays for Silver Linings. And the live stream will be on Vimeo. You can register. You'll see this in the Zoom group chat. Thank you all so very much. It's really been a joy. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.